this?
Danny DeLuca.
He takes care of my guests.
A concierge?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I was looking for, there's so much chaos in the world, and in the work that I do, you know, there's a lot of seriousness to some of the things that I spend my energy on, so I wanted to do something light. I wanted to do something that was just kind of a little bit escapist to balance that out. And I also wanted to get out of the country. I wanted to do something that was a little more global in perspective, and I think Americans' appetite for being able to watch and experience lives outside of our borders is growing. So I wanted to be a little bit ahead of that curve and see what we can make up.
And having all of your co-stars be mostly like Italian actors, was that part of that plan as well?
Well, I think it was just, I just wanted to do something not American and see what the storytelling model was for that, and take advantage of, frankly, like it's a big world and there's a large footprint, and I have discovered, you know, fans everywhere, so cater to them as well, not just in the 50 states. But yeah, like you said, I'm the only American in the show. We got folks from a lot of other countries, so that was really fun to do.
And did filming in a different country and with actors from all over the globe, did that change your perspective on filming in different locations and everything? Like, what was new about this for you?
Well, it was certainly new. It was my first time working with a non-American crew and production company as a producer. You know, I'm interacting with the production company for 6 months before we even shoot in terms of story development, character development, wardrobe, casting decisions, agreeing on cast, things like that. So there's a different model. There's certainly a different approach in terms of like work hours. You know, in America we like work to live. We work ourselves to the bone. I've done many 15, 16, 14-hour days, and they don't really do that there. They're gonna take their break. They're gonna have their espresso. They're gonna have their pizza. They're gonna wrap. It's time to go. You know, it's time to go. And I respect that. It's not burning yourself out at every single opportunity. Quality of life is a priority over there, so it slowed things down, and you get to, you know, which sometimes can be frustrating, but you get it. It's a preservation of culture in some ways, and that certainly bled into the vibe in terms of the story that we were telling.
That's nice to know that that lifestyle applies to like a film shoot and everything, because I wouldn't really expect that. You know?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think I wondered the same. I think I presumed the same thing. They're like, yeah, but when you're shooting, you got to go. Everything is $1. Everything
Right.
costs. And they're like, no, we're taking a break. And people are kind of wandering in and out, and it's just a little bit more casual, because what's at the core is, again, just like quality of life, eating as a way to be in a collective and to share space together. It wasn't all about productivity.
And how do you think that bleeds into the character dynamics in the show? Because you have this like ragtag group of like investigators with Daniel DeLuca and the people he works with on like the private eye side, and then the group that he works for in the hotel. So how do you think that community
you know, it's funny.
reflects?
It actually is reflected in that you have Daniel, as the only American, is the one that's a lot of times like, can we go? Are we doing this? Like, are you going to be productive? Are you going to be helpful? And people want to tell stories and anecdotes and order something else and bicker about this. And Daniel's trying to keep us on course. And that is actually kind of a bit of a mirror to how I felt sometimes as the only American there, which doesn't mean I was right. And also I think comedic, you know, being able to be comedic, do playful stories, and the timing is a little bit different. We've got terrific British actors. We've got actors from Spain and from Italy and from France, and everybody has a different kind of approach to story and how and when and where to reveal different story elements. So getting able to talk about that is really interesting. I mean, actors come from a lot of different schools of thought. There is not one way to do it, and it's really about the result. Daniel is kind of a man trapped between worlds. He was born in Naples, ran around the Costiera as like a street kid, kind of hustling, and then moved. He's half Italian, half American, moved with his mom to America and grew up American. So he's Italian, but he's American. He's white, but he's black. He's a street thief, kind of ragamuffin kid who's a military like law enforcer, who was a military intelligence. So he's both of those things authentically in each case. And now that that's done, we'll find out, you know, why his military career ended abruptly. But now he's kind of left rudderless and kind of floating at sea, and decided just to go back to the land of his birth to like lick his wounds and figure out what the next step is. So you have somebody who's a master of many domains except his own life, right? Who can solve other people's problems but not his own, who tells people to calm down and control their emotions but can't necessarily kind of moderate his own. So I think there's a relatability to that as a character. People aren't perfect, and even though you're excellent in one or two fields, it doesn't mean you can handle managing a relationship with another person. So that was one of the big appeals for me to explore the character.
And do you think that like kind of inability to regulate, as you describe it, informed his decision to want to join the military?
Yes, I think a lot of people you want to be part of a team, a little bit of structure, you know, and protection. You know, that's why you join a gang or the police. You know, it's not very different. You want to be part of something where you will feel protected and looked out for, and you get the credit for all the best and brightest of that group, and ignore the worst. And has done wonders for people's lives who otherwise, might have gone the wrong direction in a different way. So that structure, but when you commit yourself to such a structure and then you're out of it, now what do you have? It's almost like having an exoskeleton and then you're out of it, and now you're just kind of this flimsy piece of dough. Like what do you do and how do you do it if you don't have your squad with you? What I like most about Daniel DeLuca is his ability to regulate even the most intense situations with humor, where other people might get frazzled and kind of freak out. He is able to stay calm, and I think that I think that he's aware that he's got a lot of flaws, and he's got a lot of unfinished business in his own life, and he aims to improve. He just hasn't gotten around to it yet, but I think there's a degree of self-awareness that is admirable. In terms of tone and structure, we're playing with a couple things in an unorthodox way. You have kind of what we call like a vertical story. Each episode, there's something that has to be tackled and dealt with in this episode, but the horizontal story, the long story, develops pretty quickly, which is the proprietor of the hotel, his daughter goes missing. And Daniel's hired to focus on that while also doing his day job. So you have the long, important story that's putting together the pieces, but you also have fires to put out daily. And also, tonally, we might lean into comedy in a certain episode, and it might get really dark and violent in a fifth episode, which is very different than like the family drama and spat happening in episode 4. Episode 3 might be much more action. If you've seen the first 2 episodes, you haven't seen the rest. Like tonally, we shift and move around quite a bit, which isn't really common. A lot of the shows nowadays are dark, moody, political thriller. That is what it is, and that's fine. I love a lot of those shows. Some are just straight comedies, some have a laugh track. Ours, we kind of play in several different pools, because I thought early on that's what life is like, like you have a funny, great conversation with your girlfriend, and then some crazy shit happens at work. I don't know if I was supposed to say that. And then you have like something you got to call from your mom you have to deal with. Like we're up and down all the time. Yeah. And I think with all the madness going on in the world right now, we just wanted to do something that was light and bright and could just give you a break. You could just put it on, and it's 6 episodes. You can binge it at your own pace and just knock it out. So it's a fun experiment. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's what I was going for.
Great.
Just to play and run around. The 10-year-old boy in me would love to drive a motorcycle and kick somebody in the face and then jump on a boat and ride off and save the girl. So there you go.
Come on, it's dreamy.
Yeah,
it's dreamy.
It's complex stuff. In my experience, when you sit down to stream something, you got your food or whatever, and we all know the feeling of you spending like 20 to 30 minutes picking what you're gonna watch. Do I feel like this? I heard that's really good. I want to see it, but I'm not in the mood to watch something that seems too dark or that seems too silly. I don't want to watch. I think that we decided to just make something in the middle, make something that is sincerely funny, and fun-loving. But you have a case of a missing girl. That's not funny. There's something that there are stakes, but there gets to be some fun, playful action. But regardless of all of that, on mute, it's spectacular. Don't put it on mute.
Yeah.
Watch it. But
No, we'll lock it.
you're being stimulated in every way. And if you wait 10 seconds, something else is going to happen. And then episode to episode, we shift. I think a secret sauce is something that we're doing that's unorthodox, is changing the tone and tempo per episode. Episode 3 is if you've only seen the first 2, you haven't seen 3. The tempo and energy of that and the tone of it is different, and that shifts again by the time you get to episode 5. So there's no room for kind of boredom. We're keeping it moving and shaking it up, and not having to show all of our cards in terms of tone in the first episode.
Yeah, it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, I think so. There's some seeds planted, and some bear fruit and some don't. There's again, it was kind of, we're just modeling like the uncertainty of life and what moves you forward into the next chapter.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So a mystery there in and of itself.
Like, people are responding really well all over the world. If people love it as much as we do, we'd love to keep telling stories. I mean, the cool thing about the Amalfi Coast is it's been there for all of Italy. I say in America, an old building here is 100 years old. There you're having lunch next to a building that's literally 1,400 years old.
Beautiful.
There's a heritage, there's a history. You're walking amongst ghosts. It's built on top of civilizations, on top of whole other civilizations. There's a lot of buried treasure there, figuratively and literally. And Italy has a very diverse, cultural nuances. The South is very different than Northern Italy. There's a lot of cultural collisions that we can put together and stories to tell, kind of deep in the recesses of the caves and mountains of that coastline. So we've got a long list of things we're excited to share with the world. After they respond to this one.
Yeah, there's an abundance to pull from for sure.
Yeah, there is.
And
the international ability. Anybody can fly in, come in and out, and bring their baggage with them.
Yeah, very much so. And this group of people that Daniel works with, that group of 4,
yeah,
they're really fun to me. They're very different personalities
that
somehow mesh really well together. Can you give a sense for viewers what that group is like and how their chemistry doesn't, when you look at them, it doesn't seem like they'd be friends.
Yeah.
How do they work?
Yeah, we have this hodgepodge that Daniel has put together. His old, kind of an older brother from growing up in the hood, a Beignet, this character, a local guy, and then we have this really funny, that's played by Antonio Girardi, and then Sam Haygarth plays this really hilarious British guy who is just a wealth of useless knowledge, but an old aristocrat from the last vestiges of an aristocratic family that actually doesn't have any money anymore there, but he's a connector to get things done. And then the real kind of brains of the operation, disguised in beauty, is played by Jordan Alexander. She plays Jenny, and she's kind of a utility knife. She can do anything and solve anything and charm the hell out of people. And yeah, we do have this. It's a ragtag group that you wouldn't. Exactly. You look at them, you're like, how did you guys come together? But they all are running from something. They're all kind of in denial about something, and what we learned about the Amalfi Coast is it's a place where people go to hide as much as it is a place where people go to vacation. I think a lot of time those things overlap in this Venn diagram. Running away from something, taking a break and a breather from something, and it's a place where you plan to go for 2 weeks and you stay for 10 years. And why is that? And there's a lot of underpinnings there of interesting story for each of those characters as well. Shows that I watch, I'm trying to check my TV settings, why the hell is it so dark? Do I need to turn my brightness on? We wanted it to be a character and for you to see it and be transported. That, because it transports you when you're there. And does that affect your mood? Does that affect the way you answer questions or come up with ideas? And does it affect your energy level? Does it affect your willingness to give somebody another chance or to follow through on something? If it's bright and spectacular and you're seeing the most beautiful elements of the universe that are accessible, yeah, probably. So we wanted to show that to you, and we don't need to hide it or try to be cute about it. We're showing it as it appears. And that, I think that in the same way that like a food show or something, like people love to live vicariously through the chef, you know, or something like that. Like there is a smorgasbord of, you know, beauty up on that screen that colors everything, and it's aspirational in some ways. So yeah, we wanted to include that and make sure that it factors in. It's not green screen, it's real.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And how did being a producer on this series kind of like elevate how you work on productions in the future?
I learned a great deal. I mean, being an active producer on something so global, produced in a different country, but with a direction towards so many, you know, it's a global show. It's in 20-something nations. And so how do you serve a multitude of audiences without diluting the product so much that it, you know, like you want to try to be effective and efficient and clear, but we wanted to really open up the aperture. We want it to be a hit in Brazil as much as we do in France or Germany or San Diego. So being able to plug into, you know, I was involved in casting and wardrobe and the overall mood and kind of visual effect. You know, I learned a lot. I'm working with a lot of great people. We have an incredible director, Adam Bernstein, who brought us Breaking Bad and 30 Rock and Better Call Saul and Fargo. And the guy has a wealth of valuable experience, and I was privileged to be able to kind of learn from him and collaborate with him and agree and disagree and figure things out. So I've been a producer on a few things. This was certainly the most active, and I had to be accepting of like that I want to make something lighter and different than some of the other things that I've done before.
What piques your curiosity on set? Like which crew member or are you most eager to learn things from?
The elements of production that tend to pique my curiosity the most probably orbit around the camera, the DP, lens choices, our dolly grip, our focus puller, one of the most underappreciated jobs in the business. I'd say it's around camera and like shot design, the perspective from which you see the world, because that is where you get your first impression from. So yeah, I mean it's kind of in a circuitous way how I got in this business. Started with a camera, started with being a photographer. This kind of led me into a position to be interested in acting.
Yeah, how did that go? You were like capturing people and we're like, maybe I can.
I took a photography class, and then that turned into film school, which turned into making stuff, which turned into you know what, I'll just do it myself and act in it, and then somehow they gave me my own show.
Yeah.
Somebody messed up somewhere.
How does Daniel DeLuca challenge you as an actor specifically?
You know, there were some physical challenges. I had to be in shape, very far away from my comfort zone. And I'm in every scene and producing it, so there's no backup plan. There's no rest or day off or half a day off. So in terms of just energy level and being able to create and establish and sustain a certain pace of physicality and kind of mental acuity to stay sharp and learn a new language and be able to, you know, understand the languages of others and be on set even if there are pieces that I'm not shooting to pay attention to. It was a marathon. So it's kind of both. Some of that is on camera, some of that is off camera, but it's just about like clarity of vision and endurance.
Yeah, and when it comes to the Italian, did you learn your co-stars' lines that are in Italian as well to be able to understand the scenes?
I'm trying to think if there's a place where I would have taken a shortcut and not done that, but I had to do that because, you know, as actors, we don't always say the lines exactly as written, and I need to know what just happened. If that take was different and you dropped off that sentence or put it at the end, what am I responding to? So I had to be able to follow. So yeah, I mean, I studied hard. That languages do not come easy for me. I'm jealous of those for which it does, because it was difficult for me.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness also that the European lifestyle reflected into the production schedule and stuff, because you were forced to take breaks.
Yeah, for real. Even if they're only 5-10 minutes, but it just slows it down. It stops the anxiety that forms. There's a lot of pressure on a show like that for everybody. It's certainly not just me.